cases from Germany, 3 cases from Italy, 2 cases from Norway, and 1 from Spain. And we have, in addition to that, 3 cases in the UK and 2 from India. And as to, I think it's a very relevant question that you are posing on what is exactly going on. And that's something that we are going to investigate and explore further in the near future with our advisory group, with specialists, with hopefully results from studies that will become available. But for the moment, it's all speculation. So,
thank you very much. So next is Jenny Strasbourg from Wall Street Journal. Jenny, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Given instances of thromboembolic events related to other vaccines, are you thinking of warning on those labels as well? And given that Ms. Cook said on Tuesday that you received more reports based on the awareness of these issues and the media around it, can you give us a breakdown of what vaccines you received more reports from? Was it mostly one or the other, or a mix of vaccines? Thank you.
Dr. Strauss, and then Mrs. Cook can complement. Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, it's well, what we highlighted before, and what was also highlighted, is that if you're going to vaccinate a very large population of people, as we are doing now, you will always encounter certain events that occur in close temporal relationship with the vaccine. And we know that thrombosis and thromboembolisms are very common conditions. And I have some figures here that approximately 100,000 people develop blood clots every month in the European Union for different reasons, for all different reasons. So obviously we also have reports coming in for all the vaccines on the different, on these blood clots and this thrombosis and thromboembolisms. But for now, the reporting, as is with the case with the AstraZeneca vaccine for the general occurrence of thrombosis and thromboembolisms, is below what we would expect from based on the background occurrence of these clotting diseases. So at the moment, I cannot give you a very detailed breakdown, but we have looked into this from a thrombosis thromboembolic perspective, and at the moment there is no indication that the observed cases would be higher than the expected cases. So, like we highlighted before, these cases occur always, and they also will occur in temporal relationship with the vaccination.
Many thanks, and I'll give also the floor to Mrs. Cook.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yes, just to continue, just to say that we have now 4 authorised vaccines in Europe, and we are looking at the thromboembolic rates, reporting rates for all 4 of them. The 4th one, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, is not yet on the market, so we're asking for specific investigations on this before, because we can't just tell from the reports coming in. We're also in close contact with regulators across the world who have their own experience with different vaccines, so that one, they can alert us as to any heightened problem. So far, we haven't seen that, but with increasing awareness, we may see also an increase in reports for all vaccines.
Many thanks, Mrs. Cook. So the next question comes from Verena Schmidt from the German news agency dpa. Verena, please. Can you hear us, Verena?
You hear me?
Yes, now we hear you. Go ahead.
Super. Thank you. Sorry, that was a technical hiccup. Yes, I'm Verena Schmidt-Hoffmann with the German press agency dpa. And my question is just from a consumer point of view, what exactly does that warning mean for people like me who want to get vaccinated in the near future? And would you advise anybody who has qualms about this vaccine to just refrain and wait for something else? Thank you.
Mrs. Cook, you want to take that one?
Yeah, one of the reasons that we are highlighting the conclusions from the safety discussions today is so that we raise awareness among people who have been vaccinated or intend to be vaccinated about things that they should look out for just in case they have any problem. If it was me, I would be vaccinated tomorrow. But I would want to know that if anything happened to me after vaccination, what I should do about it. And that's what we're saying today.
Thank you very much. The next question comes from Bruno Waterfield from The Times. Bruno, please go ahead.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Thank you for taking my question. I'm aware of the fact that there have been a number of cases in the United States of a condition called immune thrombocytopenia, ITP. Obviously, in the United States, there are different vaccines that have been authorised, Pfizer and Moderna. I just wondered whether you had looked at those cases, whether you could comment on them as an avenue of investigation, because it would seem to suggest that there's a broader problem than just AstraZeneca there, which links into what Peter was, or someone was saying about looking at all the authorised vaccines. I think it was EMA. But if you could tell us a bit more about those wider investigations, is this just uniquely a problem with AstraZeneca, or are there cases elsewhere as well with other vaccines? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bruno. Dr. Strauss, please.
Thank you very much for that question. That's a highly relevant point. And in the PROC agenda, there is a new signal highlighted, which is for all 3 vaccines and which concerns ITP. So the investigations have started there for all 3 vaccines, and we will come back to that as soon as possible, as soon as we have concluded that. But that's a signal that's ongoing at the moment. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, I think it did. So let's go to the next colleague. I give the floor to Naomi O'Leary from the Irish Times. Naomi.
Thank you very much for taking my question. Is there any indication that perhaps these events could be more common in people who have had COVID-19 already and have come through it? Thank you.
Dr. Strauss, please.
Thank you very much. That's a very relevant question. And we are aware of cases described in the literature where young people who had asymptomatic COVID later on developed thrombotic events and thromboembolic events. However, in these cases, as far as they were available, we looked at the PCR to test for COVID, so they didn't have an active infection, but it's still very well possible that it might be something from a post-COVID period, and that's another thing that we will investigate and explore further in the near future.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Laila Liverpool from The New Scientist. Laila, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm wondering if reports of these rare events are more common in younger women. Is there a possibility of a link with the contraceptive pill? And is this something that the EMA is also investigating?
Dr. Strauss, please.
Thank you very much. And yes, it is always a distinct possibility. And we have looked into that. We know that in general for the occurrence, because we shouldn't forget that the CVST occurs also at a certain level in the background anyway. And there, one of the risk factors that is highlighted for the disease or the syndrome as such is indeed oral contraceptives. So that's also one of the things that we will be further investigating in the near future.
Many thanks. So the next question comes from Donato Mancini from the Financial Times. Donato, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thanks for taking my question. So I know you've ruled out the batch hypothesis for blood clots in general, but can you confirm the same has happened for the more serious combination of cerebral thrombosis and low platelet counts, or is that still a possibility there? Thank you so much.
Dr. Strauss?
Thank you very much. PROC has received advice from the Biologicals Working Party that has looked very carefully into this issue, and there is no batch-related issue. There's no issue with batch quality at all. So the possible link is not there, also not for these very special cases.
Thank you very much. The next question comes from Antje Höning from Rheinische Post. Antje?
Thank you. I have two questions. Can you say us something about a special risk for a young woman who are smoking? It was a debate in Germany. And the second question is, do you think that it was right that so many countries have stopped the vaccination?
Okay, the first question to Dr. Strauss, and then I hand over to Mrs. Cook.
Thank you. Yes, smoking is, of course, a well-known risk factor for thrombosis anyway. I'm not sure yet that it's a real risk factor for these very specific cases, but it's something we are also looking into. Thank you.
Mrs. Cook, can you answer the second question?
Yeah, so I think it's very important to highlight that when a country makes a decision about vaccination, they do that with the full knowledge of their population, of what's available and what the particular risk factors to their population are. What our job is to look at the vaccine and to see whether it's safe, quality and effective, and whether the benefit outweighs the risk. And that's what we have done. We cannot comment on the individual decisions in member states.
Many thanks, Mrs. Cook. So now we have Gretchen Vogel from the Science magazine. Gretchen, go ahead, please.
Hello. Two questions, if I may. Just a quick question about the numbers you mentioned from Norway. I had understood that there were 4 cases there, but you had mentioned...
Can you speak up a bit? We don't really understand you.
Yes?
Can you speak up a bit?
Sorry.
Much better, I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Better?
Much better.
Okay. All right. First, a brief question about Norway. You mentioned 2 cases of the stroke. I understood that there were 4 cases that they were looking at.
Sorry, you're still breaking up.
Then,
perhaps you need to give us your question in the chat. We are going then to read it because you're breaking off. We can't really understand it.
I can do that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
I will do that.
Thank you. So I give the floor now to Kate Powling from Good Morning Britain. Kate, please.
Hi. Can I ask, how concerned are you about national regulators making unilateral decisions that have caused a lot of worry among the 11 million who have been vaccinated in the UK?
Mrs. Cook, can you take that question, please? Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important that the national authorities have the right scientific basis on which to make their decisions, but they make their decisions in the context of the knowledge of their population on what vaccines they have available, on what specific risks they have identified, and what their vaccination campaigns have been. Our job is to ensure that we provide the right evidence on the vaccine so that countries can make an informed decision.
Thank you very much. So now we have Thomas Migliarina from Switzerland. Thomas, please.
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Cook, is there any discussion among the experts as to whether we can harmonize the application of the precautionary principle? Because this might not be the first situation we are in. Is that even possible to harmonize the application of the precautionary principle? Thank you very much.
Mrs. Cook, please.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we need to do to make sure that everybody has the same information about the benefits and risks. And we tend to look from the regulatory perspective, because we are medicines regulators, we work very closely with medicines regulators in Europe, who are part of our network. We also work with medicines regulators across the world, but we're not the only actor in the supply of in the rollout of vaccines. And,
if you hate wearing glasses, don't skip this video. Having to wear glasses or contacts day in and day out can be extremely frustrating.
So that we all have the same information, so that everybody can make informed decisions.
Many thanks. We try again, Joe Barnes from
Express. Is how you start.
We didn't hear your question, or we didn't hear you speak, actually. Does it work now? Joe, can you try?
Sorry, yes, Joe Barnes from the Daily Express. I must have been disconnected at the time. Thank you for taking my question. So just very quickly, on the information and the evidence you have based today, published today, should the EU and European countries that have stopped using AstraZeneca immediately start jabbing people in the arms and continuing their rollout from now? And then you mentioned, coffee machines going off in the background, that 2,500 people died in one day last week. Do you think that countries stopping using the AstraZeneca jab has cost lives? Thank you.
Mrs. Cook, do you want to respond to that question?
Yes, I think we just have to continually remind ourselves of what a difficult situation we are in. This pandemic is causing lives. We have vaccines that are safe and effective that can help prevent death and hospitalisation. We need to use those vaccines within the environments that we have them. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks, Mrs. Cook. I now have a follow-up question from Gretchen Vogel. She was from the German press agency. So she wants to clarify the numbers from Norway, Dr. Strauss. Earlier you said there were 2, but Norwegian officials have mentioned 4. Were 2 of those the DIC cases you mentioned? Dr. Strauss.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question. Yeah, the numbers are challenging, I think. What we have done is we have taken the cases, we have discussed at the level of the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee all the cases, also all the Norwegian cases that were available to us up until yesterday. And we have, after careful review, categorized 2 of those cases as CVST cases, and that has been our main focus. So therefore there is a bit of a difference between the numbers that are being used, but like I highlighted, the numbers are quite difficult, but we reviewed all the cases that were reported and brought to our attention in the different member states.
Okay, many thanks. So I think that these were the questions we received. I want to thank all of you for attending this press conference. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact our press office. And I also want to recommend to you to look at our website, ema.europa.eu, because you will find additional information about our safety monitoring of COVID-19 vaccines on this website. So thank you very much and goodbye.